The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched wider than most cities. Thousands of alien representatives filled the curved seats that rose in perfect circles toward a dome of stars. In the center of it all, a small human figure stood at the speaking platform. Admiral Kang Deho looked tiny compared to the massive creatures around him. The Thexari delegates towered 12 feet tall with their crystal skin catching the light. The Vorthak representatives floated in their breathing tanks, tentacles waving slowly. Even the smallest aliens in the council were twice his size, but when Kang Deho spoke, the entire hall went quiet. Earth, thanks the council for this opportunity to address recent concerns, he said in his calm voice. His words were translated instantly into thousands of languages. We understand that some members question humanity's role in galactic affairs. In the Valdari section, War Duchess Thexira shifted in her seat. Her forearms crossed over her chest armor as her red eyes focused on the human admiral. She had been planning this moment for months. Thexira stood up, her voice booming across the hall. Yes, we question it. Humans control 3 major trade routes. They have mining rights on 17 worlds. They sit on the Security Council with full voting power. And what do they bring to defend these privileges? 12 ships. 12 tiny ships against our thousands. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Many alien species had been thinking the same thing. Humanity seemed to punch way above their weight in galactic politics. Kang Deho nodded politely. The Valdari raise fair points. Our fleet is indeed small, compared to yours. Small? Thexira's laugh was like breaking glass. My personal guard fleet has more ships than your entire species. The hegemony maintains 800 combat vessels. The Crystalline Empire has 2,000. The Vorthak Alliance fields 3,000 ships. And humans? 12. She paused, letting her words sink in. We demand to know why the Council grants such power to such a weak military force. The hall erupted in debate. Some species agreed loudly with Thexira. Others looked uncomfortable, shifting in their seats. A few of the older representatives seemed worried. Councillor Zephron of the Altarian Federation raised one of his 6 arms for silence. His ancient voice creaked like old wood. War Duchess Thexira raises questions that have simple answers. The Council has records. Old records, Thexira interrupted. Stories from 300 years ago. Tales of human military might that no one alive has ever seen. We live in the present, not in myths. Meanwhile, far from the council chambers, Captain Yi Minho stood on the bridge of his ship. The frigate Soul's Dawn was small even by human standards, but Yi Minho commanded her with pride. They were currently patrolling the outer edge of council space, watching for pirates and smugglers. Captain, called Lieutenant Song Mirai from her station. I'm picking up massive fleet movements near the Valdari border. Looks like 800 ships forming up. Yi Minho frowned. 800? That's their entire military. What's the formation? Attack formation, sir. They're moving toward the inner systems. Back in the council chambers, Thexira was still speaking. The Valdari hegemony no longer recognizes humanity's special privileges. We demand that Earth surrender control of the Kepler trade route and the 3 outer colonies on Tau Ceti, Ross 128, and Wolf 359. The hall went completely silent. Even the translator systems seemed to pause. Kang Deho's expression did not change. And if we refuse? Thexira smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Then you will learn what happens when 12 ships face 800. Several alien counselors gasped. A direct threat in the council chambers was almost unheard of. Ambassador Park Ji-woo, sitting in the human delegation area, stood up slowly. She was even smaller than Admiral Kang Deho, but her voice carried clearly through the hall. The Valdari demand is rejected, she said simply. Thexira's eyes blazed red. Then you choose war. So be it. She activated a communicator on her wrist. Fleet Admiral Kethos, execute Operation Broken Shield. Begin the blockade of human trade routes immediately. In deep space, the Valdari war fleet received their orders. 800 ships spread out in perfect formation, their weapons powering up. Fleet Admiral Kethos had waited years for this moment. All ships jump to assigned positions, he commanded. Show these humans what real military power looks like. The fleet disappeared into jump space, heading for Earth's trade routes and colonies. On his frigate, Captain Yi Minho watched the sensor readings change. "They're jumping," he reported to Earth Command. 800 Valdari ships heading into human space. The response from Earth Command was immediate but calm. "Understood, Sol's Dawn. Return to base. All human ships are to withdraw to Sol System immediately." Yi Minho looked puzzled. "Sir, they didn't order us to fight?" "No," came the reply. "All ships return to Sol. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. Across human space, 12 small ships began their journey home. The Terran Defense Force was retreating without firing a shot. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, ancient systems that had slept for decades began to wake up. Deep inside what looked like normal asteroids, computers started running startup sequences. Fusion reactors that had been cold for years slowly warmed to life. Lieutenant Commander Song Mireille sat in her small quarters on the destroyer Inchen Blade, staring at a sealed envelope. The envelope was marked with codes she had hoped never to see. Every human military officer had one. They all knew what it meant. She opened it with shaking hands and read the single line inside. "The Guardians wake. Prepare for Silent Thunder." On Luna Base, hidden beneath the moon's surface, Commander Park Seo-hyun watched thousands of status lights change from red to yellow. Each light represented a ship that the galaxy had forgotten existed. "Current activation status?" she asked her aide. 15% complete, Commander. Estimated time to full activation, 72 hours. "And the Valdari fleet?" "They'll reach Mars orbit in 6 hours. They're sending their first wave ahead, about 50 ships." Park Seo-hyun nodded. "Perfect timing. They'll think they're winning, right up until the moment they realize they're not." Back on his frigate, Captain Yi Minho received new orders as they approached Earth orbit. "Sol's Dawn, you are assigned to Jupiter Patrol. Take position at the L4 point and wait." "Wait for what, Control?" "Wait for the show to begin, Captain." On the bridge of his corvette Gwangju Swift, Captain Cho Hyunwoo got similar orders. But his were different. He was to go alone to Mars orbit and wait for the Valdari advance force. "Alone?" he asked. "Against 50 ships?" "Affirmative. Make contact with the Valdari commander. When they demand surrender, ask for 1 hour to prepare the paperwork." Cho Hyunwoo stared at his orders. Either Earth Command had gone crazy, or something was about to happen that would change everything. In the council chambers, the session had dissolved into chaos. Some species were demanding immediate action to stop the conflict. Others were placing bets on how quickly the Valdari would crush humanity's tiny fleet. But the oldest members of the council sat in worried silence. They remembered stories their grandparents had told them, stories about why no one ever attacked Earth directly. Stories about ships that appeared from nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood quietly at the speaking platform, checking his watch. Around him, thousands of aliens argued about humanity's fate. He smiled slightly. They would all understand very soon. 3 days had passed since the Valdari declared war on humanity. Captain Lee Dong-min stood on the bridge of his battlecruiser Daegu Sentinel, watching his screens carefully. His ship floated near Jupiter, hidden behind one of the gas giants. Many moons. "Captain," his sensor officer called out, "Valdari scouts are entering the outer system. 5 ships moving slowly toward Mars." Lee Dong-min nodded. "Any sign they've detected us?" "No, sir. They're scanning for human fleet positions, but they're looking for active ships. We're running silent so they can't see us." The Valdari scout ships moved through the outer solar system like hunters searching for prey. Their powerful sensors swept back and forth, looking for Earth's tiny fleet of 12 ships. Commander Valdari Nexus led the scout force from his sleek warship. He expected to find human ships running in panic, trying to hide behind planets or moons. Instead, he found almost nothing. "Report," he ordered his crew. "We've detected 3 human ships so far," his sensor officer replied. "1 near Jupiter, 1 near Saturn, and 1 heading toward Mars. They're not running, sir. They're just waiting." Nexus frowned. This was not what he expected from a defeated enemy. "What about their main fleet?" "No sign of it, sir. These 3 ships appear to be all that's left in the outer system." War Duchess Thexira received the report aboard her flagship, still several hours away from the Sol system. She studied the tactical display showing the positions of the few human ships they had found. Only 3 ships defending the entire outer system? She asked. Yes, War Duchess, and they're not even trying to hide very well. Thexira felt suspicious. Something was wrong with this picture. Where were the desperate human fleets she expected to find? Where were the panic broadcasts begging for mercy? Deep in the asteroid belt, Chief Engineer Kim So-hee walked through corridors that had been empty for decades. Around her, thousands of automated systems hummed to life. The asteroid base looked like a mining station from the outside, but inside it was something very different. Status report, she called to her small team of engineers. All primary systems are online, reported her assistant. Fusion reactors at 70% power and climbing. Manufacturing bays are warming up. The first batch should be ready in 18 hours. Kim So-hee looked through a window at the massive construction bay below. What looked like empty space was actually filled with ships, hundreds of them, built years ago and stored in vacuum, waiting for this moment. How many total? She asked. This facility alone has 800 ships ready for activation. The other facilities are reporting similar numbers. Kim So-hee did quick math in her head. 40 facilities throughout the asteroid belt, each with hundreds of ships. Send the 15% activation signal to Earth Command. On Luna Base, Commander Park Se-oh-hyun watched more status lights turn green. The hidden fleet was waking up slowly, but exactly on schedule. Ma'am, her communications officer called out, we're receiving activation confirmations from all asteroid facilities. Current status is 15% and climbing. Good. What about the Valdari main fleet? Still 6 hours out from Mars orbit. Their advance force of 50 ships should reach Mars in 3 hours. Park Se-oh-hyun checked her chronometer. Perfect. Our friend Captain Cho should be in position by then. Captain Cho Hyun-woo piloted his small corvette Gwangju Swift through space toward Mars. His ship was tiny compared to the Valdari vessels hunting for human fleets, but he had his orders, strange as they seemed. Sir, his communications officer said nervously, I'm detecting 50 Valdari warships approaching Mars. They'll be here in 2 hours. Understood, Cho replied calmly. Take us to Mars orbit and wait for them. His crew looked at each other with worry. One small ship against 50 enemy vessels seemed like suicide. The Valdari advance fleet dropped out of jump space near Mars exactly on schedule. 50 powerful warships spread out in attack formation, their weapons powered up and ready for battle. Fleet Admiral Kethos commanded the advance force from his heavy cruiser. He expected to find Mars defended by several human ships, or maybe a space station. Instead, he found one tiny corvette floating alone in orbit. Sir, his tactical officer reported. Single human vessel detected, corvette class. No other ships in the area. Kethos stared at his display. One ship? They sent one ship to defend Mars? It appears so, sir. The ship is broadcasting a standard diplomatic frequency. Kethos opened the channel. On his screen appeared a young human officer with a calm expression. I am Captain Cho Hyun-woo of the Terran vessel Gwangju Swift, the human said politely. You appear to be in human space without permission. Kethos could not believe what he was hearing. Human, you are facing 50 warships with a single corvette. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Captain Cho nodded thoughtfully. I understand your position, Admiral. However, I need 1 hour to prepare the proper surrender paperwork. Military regulations, you understand. 1 hour? Kethos was confused. You want 1 hour to surrender? If you don't mind. Our paperwork is quite complex. 1 hour should be sufficient. Kethos looked around his bridge. His officers seemed just as puzzled as he was. The human was acting like this was a normal business meeting instead of a military conquest. Very well, he said finally. You have 1 hour. After that, we destroy your ship. The communication ended. Kethos turned to his officers. What do you make of this? Perhaps they're stalling while their main fleet escapes, suggested his tactical officer. 50 minutes remaining, Captain Cho announced to his crew. Around them, Mars orbit seemed empty and peaceful. But deep in the asteroid belt, ancient systems were completing their startup sequences. Kim So-hee watched the final preparations in her facility. Ships that had looked like chunks of rock were shedding their disguises. Weapon systems that had been dormant for years were running their first power tests in decades. All ships in Facility Alpha 7 are ready for activation, her assistant reported. How many facilities are reporting ready status? 32 out of 40. The remaining 8 will be ready within the hour. Kim So-hee activated her communicator. Luna Base, this is Facility Alpha 7. We are go for Silent Thunder. On Luna Base, Commander Park Seo-hyun received similar reports from facilities throughout the asteroid belt. What had looked like ordinary asteroids and mining operations were revealing their true nature. Ma'am, we have confirmation from 38 facilities. Total ship count ready for activation, 9,400. Park Seo-hyun allowed herself a small smile. And the Valdari? Their main fleet is still 4 hours out. The advance force is still waiting at Mars for Captain Cho's surrender. Perfect. Signal all facilities. Prepare for full activation on Captain Cho's mark. Back at Mars, Captain Cho checked his chronometer. 55 minutes have passed. Time to finish the paperwork. He opened a channel to the Valdari fleet. Admiral? Kethos, this is Captain Cho. I'm ready to complete our discussion. On his screen, the Valdari Admiral looked impatient. Finally! Surrender your vessel immediately. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, Captain Cho replied politely. I wasn't preparing surrender paperwork. I was preparing activation. Paperwork. Activation? Paperwork? Captain Cho smiled. Yes, for our real fleet. He pressed a single button on his console. Throughout the asteroid belt, 10,000 ships that had been hiding as rocks and debris suddenly powered up. Their engines blazed to life, their weapons systems activated, their hulls shed the rocky camouflage that had hidden them for decades. Admiral Kethos stared at his sensor displays as they exploded with new contacts. Where moments before his screens had shown empty space, now they showed thousands of human warships. Sir, his sensor officer said in a shaking voice, I'm reading 10,000 human ships. They're everywhere. The Valdari advance. Fleet found itself surrounded. Ships appeared from behind asteroids, from within what had seemed like space debris, from every direction at once. Captain Nam Yunbi's voice crackled over the Valdari communications system from her massive dreadnought. Soul's Hammer. Valdari Fleet, this is the Terran Defense Force. You are completely surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Admiral Kethos looked around his bridge in shock. His 50 ships were now facing 10,000. The odds had just gone from 50 to 1 in his favor to 200 to 1 against him. How is this possible? He whispered. War Duchess Thexira received the emergency transmission from her advance fleet with growing horror. Her main fleet was still hours away, but the reports coming from Mars orbit changed everything. 10,000 ships? She demanded. That's impossible. Humans only have 12 ships. The reports are confirmed, War Duchess. Our advance force is requesting immediate backup or permission to retreat. Thexira realized she had made a terrible mistake. The old warnings about Earth's military had not been myths after all. In the asteroid belt, Captain Lee Dong-min brought his battlecruiser out from behind Jupiter's moon. Around him, the hidden fleet of Earth spread out in perfect formation. Ships that had slept for decades now moved with deadly purpose. The galaxy was about to learn why no one attacked Earth directly, and the lesson was just beginning. Admiral Kang Daeho's shuttle docked with his flagship just as the battle reports started coming in. The massive battleship Soul's Revenge had been waiting in Earth orbit, looking like just another of humanity's 12 visible ships. But now, it revealed its true size as weapons systems unfolded and armor plating shifted into combat configuration. Admiral on deck, called his aide as Kang Daeho stepped onto the bridge. Status report, he ordered, settling into his command chair. Captain Nam Yunbi appeared on his main screen from her dreadnought Soul's Hammer. Behind her, the bridge showed the organized chaos of a ship preparing for battle. Sir, we have 10,000 ships now active and in formation. The Valdari advance force of 50 ships is surrounded at Mars. They're requesting permission to withdraw. Kang Daeho studied the tactical display. Red dots showing Valdari ships were completely surrounded by blue dots representing the awakened human fleet. What's their status? Admiral Kethos is asking to surrender. His ships are powered down and waiting for our response. Negative. No surrender accepted yet. We need to send a message to their main fleet first. Captain Jung Min Seok's voice crackled over the communication system from his fast attack ship, Pohang Wolves. Admiral, my squadron has taken positions along all jump routes out of the system. If the Valdari try to run, we'll be ready. Kang Daeho nodded. The Valdari fleet was trapped, but that was only the first part of his plan. Captain Jung, I want you to let exactly one ship escape. Make it look accidental. Sir? Their main fleet needs to know what they're facing. Let one ship go so they can report back to War Duchess Thexira. Meanwhile, the Valdari advance fleet floated helplessly in Mars orbit. Admiral Kethos had never felt so small. His 50 powerful warships looked like toys compared to the massive human vessels surrounding them. Sir, his communications officer reported, the humans are jamming all our long-range communications. We can't contact the main fleet. That was Commander Han Jisu's work aboard the electronic warfare ship Dijon Shadow. Her vessel looked ordinary from the outside, but inside it was packed with the most advanced jamming equipment in known space. All Valdari communications blocked, she reported to Admiral Kang Daeho. They can talk to each other locally, but nothing gets past our jamming field. Good. Keep them isolated until I give the order. Captain Lim Tae-hyung commanded one of the strangest ships in the human fleet. The Changwon Bastion looked more like a small asteroid than a warship, but it was actually a siege platform designed for one purpose: destroying planets. Admiral, he reported from his command center buried deep inside the artificial asteroid. Planetary bombardment systems are online. We have clear targeting solutions on the 3 Valdari colony worlds they mentioned in their ultimatum. Understood, Captain Lim. Hold position, but be ready. This might get worse before it gets better. The first shots of the battle came from an unexpected source. One of the surrounded Valdari ships, commanded by a young officer named Sub-Admiral Korth, decided to fight rather than surrender. All ships, this is Korth. I will not surrender to humans. Attack formation. His cruiser opened fire on the nearest human ship, the destroyer Busan Thunder. The Valdari weapons struck the human ship's shields, causing brilliant flashes of light. Captain Yi Minho, now commanding the Busan Thunder after transferring from his frigate, felt his ship shake under the impact. Return fire, he ordered calmly. The destroyer's main guns fired once. The Valdari cruiser disappeared in a ball of fire. Admiral Kethos watched in horror as one of his best ships was destroyed in seconds. The human weapons were far more powerful than intelligence reports had suggested. All ships, cease fire, he broadcast desperately. Do not engage the humans, but the damage was done. Admiral Kang Daeho's voice came over all communication frequencies, cold and clear. Valdari fleet, you have fired on Earth Defense Force vessels. This is now considered an active combat situation. You have 30 seconds to surrender unconditionally, or we will destroy you. Admiral Kethos did not hesitate. We surrender. All Valdari ships power down weapons and shields immediately. The Valdari fleet went dark, their ships floating helplessly in space. Captain Oh Sumin, Admiral Kang Daeho called to the medical frigate Andong Mercy. Begin rescue operations for the survivors from the destroyed Valdari ship. Understood, sir. Medical teams are launching now. This surprised Admiral Kethos. The humans had just destroyed one of his ships, but now they were rescuing the survivors. It was not what he expected from an enemy. 4 hours later, War Duchess Thexira's main fleet dropped out of jump space at the edge of the Sol system. She expected to find her advance force victorious and the human colonies surrendering. Instead, she found a single Valdari ship limping toward her fleet, badly damaged and broadcasting emergency signals. War Duchess, came the panicked voice of Commander Yextal. The humans have thousands of ships. The advance fleet is destroyed or captured. Thexira stared at her tactical displays. Thousands? That's impossible. I barely escaped. They have ships hidden everywhere, giant warships, disguised as asteroids. The entire asteroid belt is full of human warships. Thexira felt her confidence crumble. Her intelligence reports had been completely wrong. Humanity did not have 12 ships. They had thousands, possibly tens of thousands. How many ships did you actually see? She demanded. At least 10,000, War Duchess. Maybe more. And their weapons. They destroyed Sub-Admiral Korth's cruiser with a single shot. Captain Shin Jae-hwan had been following the Valdari main fleet for hours in his stealth ship Sokcho Ghost. His vessel was completely invisible to enemy sensors, allowing him to gather intelligence on Valdari fleet movements. "Admiral," he reported to Kang Daeho. "The main Valdari fleet consists of 2,000 ships. They've stopped at the system's edge and appear to be regrouping." "What's their formation?" "Standard battle formation, but they look confused. I think they're not sure what to do next." Admiral Kang Daeho made his decision. "Signal all fleet commanders. Operation Silent Thunder moves to Phase 2. I want every ship in the Sol system to show itself." Throughout the solar system, even more ships began to appear. What had looked like moons around distant planets revealed themselves as massive space stations. What had seemed like normal space debris transformed into patrol fleets. Commander Park. Seo Hyun coordinated the reveal from Luna Base. "Final count, Admiral. 15,000 ships now visible and combat ready." War Duchess Thexira watched her long-range sensors as more and more human ships appeared on her displays. The numbers kept climbing until her tactical computer could barely keep track. "Ma'am," her sensor officer said quietly, "I'm reading 15,000 human ships. Our 2,000 ships are outnumbered 7-1. Thexira realized she had made the biggest mistake of her military career. The humans had not been hiding their weakness. They had been hiding their strength. "Communications. Send a message to Admiral Keth Oss. Ask about the status of our advanced fleet." The response came quickly. Admiral Kethos appeared on her screen, clearly a prisoner aboard a human ship. Behind him, she could see human officers working calmly at their stations. "War Duchess," Kethos said heavily, "I must report that the advance fleet has surrendered. We are being treated well, but we are prisoners. I recommend immediate withdrawal." But before Thexira could respond, a new voice came over her communications. It was Admiral Kang Daeho, speaking from his flagship. "War Duchess Thexira, this is Admiral Kang Daeho of the Terran Defense Force. Your advance fleet has been captured. Your main fleet is outnumbered and outgunned. I offer you one chance to withdraw your forces and return to Valdari space." Thexira looked around her bridge. Her officers were staring at the tactical displays showing the massive human fleet. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. All of them were waiting for her decision. "And if we refuse?" she asked. Admiral Kang Daeho's response was calm but final. "Then we will show you why the galaxy learned to leave Earth alone." Thexira had to make the hardest decision of her life. Retreat and lose face, or fight and probably lose everything. She looked at the numbers again. 15,000 human ships against her 2,000. But the Valdari hegemony had never retreated from a battle. "Admiral Kang Daeho," she said finally, "the Valdari do not surrender. We will fight." On his flagship, Admiral Kang Daeho sighed sadly. He had hoped they would be smarter than this. "All ships," he broadcast to his fleet. "The Valdari have chosen battle. Prepare for combat. Remember, we are not here to conquer. We are here to defend. Fight with honor." The first real space battle in 300 years was about to begin. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Valdari fleet was broken. Of their 2,000 ships, only 300 survived, floating dead in space with their crews surrendering through emergency broadcasts. Admiral Kang Daeho stood on his bridge, looking at the tactical display that showed the wreckage scattered throughout the outer Sol system. His fleet had lost only 12 ships, while the Valdari had lost 1,700. "Admiral," Captain Nam Yunbi reported from her dreadnought, "the surviving Valdari ships have all powered down. War Duchess Thexira is requesting permission to speak with you." "Put her through," Kang Daeho replied. Thexira's image appeared on his screen. Her armor was cracked, and one of her forearms hung useless at her side. Behind her, smoke drifted across her damaged bridge. "Admiral Kang Daeho," she said quietly, "I formally surrender what remains of my fleet. We accept full responsibility for this conflict." Kang Daeho nodded respectfully. "Your surrender is accepted, War Duchess. Medical ships are already en route to assist your wounded." "Why?" Thexira asked. "We attacked you. We invaded your space. Why help us?" "Because the war is over," Kang Daeho replied simply, "and because we are not monsters." But even as rescue operations began, darker news was coming in from deep space. Captain Shin Jae-won's stealth ship had been monitoring Valdari communications, and what he discovered changed everything. "Admiral," Shin Jae-won reported from his hidden position near Valdari space. "I've intercepted military communications from the Hegemony Home Fleet. They're mobilizing everything they have." "How many ships?" 20,000, sir. Every ship in the Valdari military. And Admiral, they're not coming to rescue their people. They're coming to destroy Earth completely." The communication that Shin Jae-won had intercepted was from Grand Admiral Vex Thala, the Supreme Commander of all Valdari forces. His message to the Hegemony Council was clear and terrifying. "The humans have revealed their true strength," Vex Thala had said. "They cannot be allowed to exist. A species with this much hidden military power is a threat to the entire galaxy. We must destroy them completely before they destroy us." Admiral Kang Dae-ho called an emergency meeting of his senior commanders. They gathered on his flagship, their faces grim as they reviewed the intelligence reports. 20,000 ships, Captain Nam Yoonbi said quietly. "That's more than we've ever faced before. Our current fleet stands at 14,008. 188 operational ships," reported Captain Jung Min-seok. "We're outnumbered, but not as badly as they were." Admiral Kang Dae-ho was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated his communicator. "Commander Park Seo-hyun, this is Admiral Kang Dae-ho. I need you to open the deep storage vaults." There was silence on the other end of the communication. Finally, Park Seo-hyun's voice came back, sounding shaken. "Sir, are you certain? The deep storage protocols require—" "I know what they require, Commander. The Valdari have made their choice. They're not coming to fight a war, they're coming to commit genocide. Open the vaults." On Luna Base, Commander Park Seo-hyun walked through corridors she had never seen before. Deep beneath the moon's surface, past the regular military facilities, lay chambers that had been sealed for 2 centuries. The signs on the doors were written, in multiple languages, all saying the same thing. Pacification fleet, authorized personnel only, weapons of last resort. With shaking hands, she entered the authorization codes that would wake humanity's darkest secret. Throughout the outer solar system, beyond Pluto's orbit, ancient facilities began to stir. These bases had been built after humanity's first contact. With hostile aliens 300 years ago, the bases contained ships that were never meant to fight normal wars. Captain Kwon Ji-hye had been waiting her entire career for orders she hoped would never come. Her ship, the EDF-2751, had no name beyond its designation number. It had no home port that appeared on any official records. It existed for one purpose only. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving deep protocol activation. Codes." Captain Kwon Ji-hye looked at the codes on her screen. She had memorized them years ago, but had prayed she would never see them. "All hands, this is the captain," she announced to her crew. "Deep protocol is now active. We are no longer part of the regular fleet. From this moment forward, we serve only one mission, species preservation." Similar announcements were being made on 1,000 other ships scattered throughout the darkness beyond Pluto. Ships that had no names, only numbers. Ships designed not to fight battles, but to end civilizations. Captain Bae Dong-wook commanded EDF-2752, a vessel that looked like a normal battleship but carried weapons that could crack planets. His crew had trained for years for this moment, but the training could never prepare them for the reality. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "all pacification fleet vessels are reporting ready status. 1,000 ships awaiting orders." Meanwhile, the Galactic Council had received word of the massive Valdari fleet movement. Councillor Zephyron called an emergency session, his ancient voice filled with worry. "The Valdari are mobilizing their entire military," he announced to the assembled representatives. 20,000 ships are heading toward Earth. This is no longer a simple territorial dispute. This is an attempt at species annihilation. The hall erupted in debate. Some species demanded immediate intervention. Others argued that it was not their fight. "We must stop this," declared Ambassador Thekron of the Peaceful Alliance. "If the Valdari succeed in destroying humanity, what stops them from attacking the rest of us?" But other voices disagreed. "The humans brought this on themselves," argued Councillor Vex Corian. "They hid their true military strength. They deceived us all." Councillor Zephyron raised his hand for silence. When the hall quieted, he spoke in a voice heavy with age and sorrow. 300 years ago, the Harkthul Empire made the same mistake the Valdari are making now. They decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist. They sent fleets to destroy Earth and all human colonies. The hall grew very quiet. Everyone knew the story of the Harkthul, but few knew the details. The Harkthul Empire had 50,000 ships, Zephyran continued. They attacked without warning, destroying 3 human colonies before Earth could respond. But when Earth did respond, he paused, letting the words sink in. The Harkthul Empire ceased to exist. Not just their military, not just their government, the entire species. Every Harkthul world was evacuated and then sterilized. The survivors were relocated to other worlds where they could start over, but their original civilization was completely erased. Several alien representatives looked uncomfortable. "Surely you don't mean," one started to say. "I mean exactly what I said," Zephyran interrupted. "Humanity has weapons they use only when their species faces extinction. The Valdari are about to discover what those weapons can do." In deep space, War Duchess Thexira sat in her cell aboard the human prison ship. She could hear the rescue operations continuing outside as human medical teams worked to save Valdari lives. It puzzled her. Captain Osumin entered her cell, carrying medical supplies. "How are your injuries?" the human doctor asked. "Why do you care?" Thexira replied bitterly. "Your people are about to destroy my entire species." Captain O looked confused. "What do you mean?" Thexira laughed bitterly. "You think I don't know? Grand Admiral Vexathala is bringing 20,000 ships to finish what I started. Your Admiral Kang Deho will have no choice but to activate your planet-killer fleets." Captain O's face went pale. "The pacification fleet? But that would mean... That would mean the Valdari hegemony dies completely," Thexira finished. "Just like the Harkthul. My people chose extinction rather than surrender." She looked directly at Captain O. "Your people showed mercy after our first defeat. You offered us a chance to retreat with honor. We chose war instead. Now we will pay the price that species pay when they threaten Earth's existence." Captain O stood up slowly. "I need to report this to Admiral Kang Deho." But they both knew it was already too late. The Valdari main fleet was 3 days out from Earth, and the activation of the pacification fleet meant only one thing. The Valdari hegemony had chosen its own extinction, and humanity, despite their wishes for peace, would give them exactly what they had chosen. 3 months after the final battle, Captain Lee Soyoung guided her survey ship Yeosu Explorer through what had once been the heart of the Valdari hegemony. Where great cities had once floated in space, only empty orbits remained. Where massive shipyards had built the hegemony's fleets, now there was nothing but carefully marked debris fields. "Survey complete on Sector 7, reported her science officer. "No remaining structures. All materials have been cataloged and stored according to preservation protocols." Captain Lee nodded as she studied the reports. The pacification fleet had done its work with terrible efficiency. Every Valdari military installation had been destroyed. Every government building had been reduced to atoms. Every weapon factory had been erased from existence. But the ships had been careful. Museums, schools, hospitals, and civilian homes had been left untouched until the people could be evacuated. The Valdari culture would survive, even if their government did not. "How many refugees did we relocate?" Captain Lee asked. "Final count is 50,000 Valdari civilians," her aide replied. "All have been resettled on the colony worlds in Terran space. They're being given full citizenship rights and support to rebuild their communities." It had taken the combined human fleet only 4 days to end the Valdari hegemony. Grand Admiral Vexathala's 20,000 ships had been destroyed so quickly that many never even fired their weapons. The pacification fleet's weapons were designed to end wars in hours, not months. But Admiral Kang Deho had insisted that every Valdari civilian be given the chance to surrender and relocate. Unlike their government, the ordinary people had not chosen extinction. Commander Park Seo-hyun now oversaw the Deep Space Monitoring Command from a massive station built in the ruins of the former Valdari capital. 10,000 human ships patrolled routes throughout the galaxy, ensuring that no other species would make the same mistake. "Status report," she requested from her operations center. All patrol routes are secure, reported Captain Jung Min Seok, who now commanded the expanded fast attack squadrons. We've had 17 first contacts with new species in the past month. All have been peaceful after we explained the situation. The galaxy had learned quickly. News of the Valdari's fate had spread faster than any military fleet. Species that had been considering challenging human influence suddenly became very interested in peaceful cooperation. In the human colony of New Thexira, War Duchess Thexira worked in her small office as a cultural advisor. She no longer held any military rank. The title War Duchess was a thing of the past, just like the hegemony itself. Now she was simply Thex, helping her people adapt to their new lives. The morning education reports, Advisor Thex, said her assistant, a young Valdari named Kex who had been born after the war. Thex reviewed the reports from the Valdari children attending human schools. They were learning Earth's languages and human history alongside their own culture. Many of them would grow up thinking of themselves as both Valdari and human. Any problems with integration? Thex asked. None reported. The human children are very welcoming. Several mixed species friendships have formed. Thex smiled sadly. Her people's children would have a future that she could never have imagined. They would grow up in a galaxy where the old hatreds and territorial ambitions meant nothing. A communication request chimed on her desk. The caller was Admiral Kang Daeho. Good morning, Advisor Thex, he said when she accepted the call. I wanted to update you on the memorial project. How is it progressing? Thex asked. The memorial station is nearly complete. It will preserve the entire history of the Valdari hegemony, including the records we recovered from your home worlds. Future generations will know what your people accomplished before the war. Thex felt tears in her eyes. The humans had not just destroyed her people's government. They had also worked to preserve everything good about Valdari culture. Thank you, Admiral. This means more to my people than you know. It's important that the galaxy remembers, Admiral Kang replied. The Valdari made a choice that led to terrible consequences. But your people also created beautiful art, advanced science, and rich traditions. Those things deserve to survive. Captain Nam Yunbi stood before the reformed Galactic Council in the same great hall where this had all begun. But now the hall looked very different. The Valdari section sat empty, replaced by memorial flowers. Several other species had smaller delegations, their military ambitions cooled by recent events. The Terran Defense Force wishes to present the new Galactic Security Charter, she announced to the assembled representatives. The charter was simple. It contained only 3 laws, but those laws would reshape how the galaxy worked. First, Captain Nam read, no species may threaten the complete destruction of another species. Any attempt at genocide will result in immediate intervention by the combined galactic fleet. Several alien representatives nodded in agreement. They had all seen what happened to species that chose extinction as a weapon. Second, no species may demand the surrender of another species' right to exist. Territorial disputes and resource conflicts are normal. Attempts to end a civilization are not. More nods of agreement. This rule would prevent the kind of ultimatum that had started the Valdari War. Third, any species facing existential threat may request protection from the galactic community. This protection will be provided regardless of the species' size or military strength. Counselor Zephron stood up slowly, his ancient body supported by walking aids. The Altarian Federation accepts this charter completely. We have seen what happens when these principles are violated. One by one, every species in the Council voted to accept the charter. The alternative was too terrible to consider. Captain Cho Hyunwoo now commanded the exploration vessel New Gwangju Dawn, leading humanity's renewed efforts to contact new species. His ship was accompanied by a small fleet, but they came as explorers and teachers, not conquerors. Captain, his communications officer called out, we're receiving first contact signals from the Yelthari system. Looks like they just developed jump drive technology. Understood. Set course for their system. Prepare the standard welcome package. The welcome package contained gifts, cultural exchanges, and most importantly, a detailed explanation of galactic law. New species learned quickly about the rules that kept the peace. As they approached the Yelthari home world, Captain Cho prepared for another routine first contact. The young species would ask about the strange objects scattered throughout space, that their sensors could detect but not identify. "Captain Cho," came the predictable question from the Yelthari representative. "Our deep space telescopes have detected artificial structures throughout the galaxy. They appear to be inactive, but they're clearly made by some advanced civilization." "What are they?" Captain Cho gave the same gentle explanation he had given dozens of times before. "Those are guardian stations. They watch over the galaxy to ensure that no species tries to destroy another completely. As long as your people respect other civilizations' right to exist, you'll never need to worry about what those stations can do." The young Yelthari representative looked thoughtful. "And if someone does threaten to destroy an entire species, then the Guardians wake up," Captain Cho replied simply, "and they make sure that genocide never succeeds." Admiral Kang Daeho stood in his office on Earth, looking out at the blue sky and peaceful clouds. His desk was covered with reports from across the galaxy. Trade agreements, diplomatic treaties, cultural exchange programs. The galaxy was more peaceful now than it had been in centuries. But he also kept the activation codes for the pacification fleet locked in his desk drawer. The Guardians slept, but they were always ready. War Duchess Thexira, now simply Thex, had sent him a message that morning. Her people had built a new monument in their colony. It was dedicated to the 50,000 Valdari who had died in the war, but it also thanked humanity for giving the survivors a chance to build new lives. The inscription on the monument was, in both Valdari and human languages, "They knew the cost of war. We paid it. We learned from the payment. This is how peace endures." The galaxy was quiet now. Ships moved peacefully between stars. Trade flourished. New species joined the galactic community with excitement instead of fear, but scattered throughout. Space, hidden in asteroids and disguised as space debris, 10,000 ships waited in cold sleep. They would wait for as long as necessary, because the galaxy had learned the most important lesson of all. Some rules exist not to control people, but to protect them, and the rule about Earth's fleet would never be broken again.